Alright, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to Aware and Ahead. My name is Greg Johnson, and I am your host, and thanks for listening today. So, today for the show, podcast, whatever you want to call it, I wanted to be able to talk about something that has been really interesting to me and that I've really liked. And it has to do with the idea that a lot of people talk about, and it's kind of generic, but then another person has talked about this, which I'll get into. But so it's the idea of the five people that you hang around with are like the five people that you hang around with are the person that you become, right? Or is the person that you are. And everyone kind of hears that, and it's kind of a cliche thing going on now, but it is a very much a real thing. And if you even take it away from five people, but think of like your environments, what are the top five environments are you around? What are all these different types of things? And a person who has a really great perception on this and that has a really great way of explaining it is Ed Mylett. So if you don't know who Ed Mylett is, he's an entrepreneur. He's kind of a motivational speaker person, but he's really great. And I just bought his new book, which I've found to be very helpful. And it's called The Power of One More. I don't know how it looks on the camera, but anyway, so the very beginning of it though, he talks about where he likes to use the analogy of like a home, and where your life is, say your life or you're like a home, and then your life has a thermostat. Your home has this thermostat, okay? And say it's at 75 degrees. No matter what happens, if you open all the windows outside or if you open up all the things and it's really hot, say it's 100 degrees, the thermostat in your home will bring down that temperature back to 75. It will use the AC. It will do whatever it can to be able to bring it back to that core temperature, right? And then the flip side of that is if it's really hot outside, or I mean, if it's really cold, I can't remember which one I just said, but if it's really cold outside, then the furnace will kick up and then it will try to increase the heat of the house to get to the 75 degrees. So how we want it is that we want to be able to use ways and to actually increase our temperature and to increase our thermostat, because the higher of our thermostat, say going from a 75 to an 85 or 95 or even 100, maybe 105, right? Like that's a very different level, and it can at times be something that we're really uncomfortable with. And so then we step back down to that 75 degrees when we can operate and actually be a person at 100 degrees. So I hope that kind of makes sense. I'm going to try reading a page from this. I don't know how this works with YouTube, copyright, all that type of stuff, but hopefully they don't get mad at me. I'm just trying to deliver the message that I found to be really helpful in the book, so I don't think Ed would really be mad at that. But there's a couple things that I want to read from the book from what I have read so far. The first one is on page 12, and it says, it's already given kind of an explanation at this point of what the thermostat is like. And so it says, there's no shortage of information, coaching, or paths to success in any part of your life. So it follows, the barriers to success are found inside of you. This is why you can do all the right things and still not get the results you wanted. Remember this key point. Unconsciously, we always find a way to get back to where our thermostat is set based on what we think we're worth. Simply put, you can't achieve 100 degrees of fitness or wealth with the thermostat set for 75 degrees of fitness or wealth. Your thermostat boxes you in until you can create a new identity that triggers growth and change. This isn't to say that you can't achieve success, because you will in many cases. However, unless you adjust your identity down the road, your thermostat will bring you back to where your identity is set. So kind of the idea is like, again, what I was saying, where if you are comfortable at 75 and you aren't doing anything, or if you aren't willing to get uncomfortable with the change in temperature, with getting a little bit hotter, right? Because we want to go up, we don't want to go down. We do it subconsciously. There will be times of where it's kind of like a lack of confidence and a lack of self-worth, and those things are very different. Confidence and self-worth are two very different things, but that's a topic for another time. I just got hiccups too, excuse me. But yeah, just kind of think about that. And then going on a little bit further with the talk of it, it says, this isn't to say that you can't achieve success, because you will in many cases. However, unless you adjust your identity down the road, your thermostat will bring you back to where your identity is set. If your thermostat isn't set high enough, you'll see these as coincidences, karma, or bad luck that conspired against you. Oh, so I skipped a little bit, but it says typically most people blame external forces for when this happens. Do these examples sound familiar? The economy turned and I lost a ton of money in the stock market, so I gave up on my dream of being $10 million, worth $10 million. But that's not why they are. If your thermostat is set high enough, these are little more than temporary setbacks. You must do them in unison. You won't use temporary setbacks as an excuse to create permanent failures. When you think and act in congruency, you don't cool your thermostat back down. Instead, you best positioned to turn your thermostat up to achieve the results you deserve. I kind of went back and forth on different areas of what I felt like to be able to read on that, but just the idea of the thermostat and kind of put that towards yourself and think about on how you resonate with that. Are you currently at an area where you know I could be doing more, I could be pushing myself more, I could be taking action more, I could be living life a little bit more differently, I could be, in my case, what I could have done to not be in the situation I am with the pregnancy and everything else going on. I could have raised my thermostat of confidence. I could have raised my thermostat of self-care and all these other things, like really not just like the buzzwords of it, but actually self-care, where I actually then took action to actually say what I believed, because I was comfortable with being passive, with being less assertive, with being all these types of things. It ended up in being in the result of this pregnancy, right? Where if I would have had the courage to actually be able to speak up on this, and if I would have raised my temperature, I would have raised my thermostat, which I have done since then. I'd say I'm probably like maybe 10 degrees higher now. But anyways, the point of that is that if I had done that in that moment, then this consequence of her being pregnant wouldn't have happened, because I would have stood in my frame and I would have stand for what I believe in. And so you can look at this in a lot of different ways, and it doesn't have to be just who you hang out with or what you're doing currently in life. Like, just kind of really think about it. I definitely do suggest the book if you don't have it. I'm not affiliated with them or whatever, right? Like I said, I have found a lot of really great things about this, and I want to make a lot of videos about it because there is so much inside of it. However, another quick little part that I wanted to think of is where it says right here, you can't possibly stay at 75 degrees if you hang out with people operating at 100 degrees. So just like on how the 5 people you hang out with, right? If you think about how you're all hanging out with people who are 75 degrees, you're all hanging out at that state. You're not going to change. Like you're sticking with the same conversations, especially if those people don't want to grow with you. You're sticking at that level. You're staying stagnant. That's how I see a lot of this is stagnancy. And I don't want to be a person that can be stagnant. I don't like staying and being stagnant. And with perfectionism, it's a really hard place to be in, because you want to be perfect at executing. And that's something that you have to realize, and you just have to say, fuck it. That's not going to be the reality of the situation. And I have to just take action and lose the fear of the failure of it. But that's another point. So going back to this, though, it says, through proximity, you absorb the traits, actions, and beliefs of the people you associate with. Consciously and unconsciously, their knowledge and ideas become a part of you. So when you're starting to hang out with people that are higher, who are more into the things that you are, who are wanting to level up like you are, whether that's, maybe it's just in the gym, okay? Like some people, they just want to develop in the gym, and that's totally cool. That's a great place for a lot of people to want to get started on things. Or for someone, if you're wanting to learn business like myself, I can't have conversations with certain people anymore just because that isn't what I'm interested in. I can entertain the idea for a second, but if I try to bring these new ideas and stuff and I see and how it's not being reciprocated, then I'm not going to do that. I want to be by people, and I want to listen to people who already have the belief and have the same mindset that I do and are actually above me. I want to be listening to 115 degree people when I'm at 85, because that's the mindset I want to build at. So again, you can look at this in so many different ways. It's very helpful, and I want to keep reading. I honestly could just read this whole chapter to you guys, but I don't know about copyright issues or whatever with all that, right? So definitely suggest it. I definitely want to do another video talking about it later on, but if you ever think about it, just remember to be aware of your temperature and don't be an airhead. Be aware and ahead. Thanks, guys.